All right, thank you guys. Welcome to some NFL Week 11 action. Of course, my name is Brock Page, and as always, it's great to have you here today. Real quick, before we get into today's programming, we're going to cover the early games, the early slate. So we're going to take a look at Thursday, plus the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday. And I know I had a couple of questions earlier this year, like, Brock, why do you break down NFL into two separate big videos? And the reason why I do that, somebody said, oh, so we can make more money advertising. That's actually not the case. The reason why I do two different bigger videos is because I use a really old iPad to record my videos, and it's only 16 gigs. So typically when I do a 45 to 50 minute video, it cuts off, and so I don't get to complete the whole video. So in order to be able to record it fully and upload it properly, I got to break it down into two like 20 to 25 minute videos. And to be honest with you, ad revenue, as little as it already is, ad revenue is lower with the two videos. I actually make more money with one big 50-minute video. So it's not to make more money. It's not for more views. I get more views when it's just one video. And anyway, I just feel like I should explain that to you guys. So we're doing an early slate now, and then hopefully later in the week we can get into the later games, the afternoon and night games, and the Monday night game. But anyway, let's take a look at some early game action. And we're going to start with the Thursday night game. It is going to be Arizona squaring off against Seattle. That's going to be an 8:20 p.m. Eastern kickoff at CenturyLink Field on Thursday night. Now, the Seahawks are the 3.5-point favorite at home. Total's 57.5. We are 4-0 in our last four extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 3-0 in our last three Underdog tier package picks on that site as well. And access to the Underdog tier package is just $4.99. Now, we currently have over 725 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And when it comes to this Cards-Seahawks game here, the Cardinals are plus $1.50 for an upset win. Now, the Cardinals are coming fresh off a miracle victory over the Buffalo Bills. The Hail Murray is what they're calling it right now. Regardless, though, a win is a win, as these Arizona Cardinals have won 4 out of their last 5 ball games. The Cards have also been playing very well away from home. They're actually 3-1 straight up when they travel. They went 3-1 against the number in those road games as well. The Cardinals are scoring 28 points per contest away from home, 174 rushing yards a game in that same category. Kenyon Drake has 612 yards rushing on the season, 4 touchdowns, and 4.5 yards per carry. Meanwhile, the big rushing threat really is Kyler Murray, because he can throw it and pass it. Murray has rushed for over 600 yards on the ground this season himself. 10 touchdowns he scored on the ground as well. Kyler's averaging just about 7 yards a carry. Very dangerous when he has the ball in his hands. Now, his favorite target's been DeAndre Hopkins, who has 861 yards receiving through 9 games and 4 touchdowns. Of course, Hopkins caught the Hail Murray pass. Now, this Arizona defense has been very good on the road as well. Just 17 points a game they're giving up when they travel. Top 10 in the league in fewest yards allowed per play. Jordan Hicks leads the Cards D with 74 total tackles out of that linebacker position. And speaking of linebackers, Hassan Reddick currently has 5 sacks on the season, along with 10.5 tackles for loss and 35 total tackles. Defensive backs Patrick Peterson and Budda Baker also have 5 interceptions between the two of them out of that Arizona secondary. This Arizona defense ranks in the top 10 in fewest pass yards allowed, top 3 in fewest points allowed on the road. Now, they're taking on a Seattle ball club who's on a 2-game losing streak themselves. 67 total points they gave up in those 2 losses. The Seahawks also lost 3 out of their last 4, and they failed to cover the number in 4 out of their last 5. Now, the Seattle defense ranks in the top 5 in the league in most points allowed per contest. They're also in the top 3 in most pass yards allowed per game. Seattle's giving up 30 points a game and over 350 yards passing. The Seahawks are also ranking in the top 3 in the league in most fourth quarter points allowed. Seattle's failed to cover the point spread in 5 out of their last 6 divisional games as well, really struggling to get the job done against the number within the NFC West. Now, injury-wise, Seattle has a million guys who are listed as questionable. I'm not going to list them all right here. Feel free to search online for that massive list of guys who are questionable. Meanwhile, on the other side, Arizona's got Phillips, Daniels, Thompson, and Fotu listed as questionable themselves. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number in this one, Seattle's most recent outing with the LA Rams stayed 16 points below the posted number for that ball game. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, on the other side of things, they are 4-0 to the under in all of their road games, 67% to the under overall for this season. So although I've been leaning toward a lot of overs over the past couple of weeks, looks like I'm going to lean toward the under in this one. So with all that said and done, give me the underdog Arizona Cardinals plus 3.5 and the under 57.5 in that game. Before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the video. Got some lines of personal leans out for NFL Week 11. But before we dive into some more free content right here on YouTube, just got to quickly remind you once again that we are red hot in our extra daily pick tier package right now. We're 4-0 in our last 4 extra daily picks on patreon.com/BrockPage. And if you want to access today's extra daily pick, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. We're also 3-0 in our last 3 Underdog tier package picks on that site as well. And access to the Underdog tier package pick is only going to cost you just $4.99. Now, we currently have over 725 members signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that site is in the description section below. And once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. And moving on, we're going to take a look at the Steelers squaring off with the Jaguars. That's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern start time, and that's down in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the 10-point favorite on the road. I think they are the most heavily favored team on the card here this week. But anyway, once again, Pittsburgh's minus 10 on the road. Total's 47.5. The Steelers are minus... I don't know why I'm going to say that again. But anyway, the Steelers are the only unbeaten team in the NFL. 9-0 straight up overall for the season. 7-2 against the spread in those 9 ball games. The Steelers are scoring nearly 31 points a game. And they rank in the top 10 in offensive time of possession. Ben Roethlisberger has thrown for nearly 2,300 yards on the season, along with 22 total touchdown passes. Juju Smith-Schuster and Chase Claypool have over 1,000 receiving yards combined, along with 12 touchdowns together. Meanwhile, defensively, the Steelers are in the top 3 in fewest points allowed per contest, top 5 in fewest yards allowed per play. They're giving up just 211 passing yards per game as well. TJ Watt has 9 total sacks on the season, 15.5 TFLs and an interception as well. Linebacker Bud Dupree's also got 7 sacks himself, along with 23 total tackles and 2 forced fumbles. Nelson and Fitzpatrick each have a pair of interceptions from this Pittsburgh secondary. The Pittsburgh defense has 36 total sacks on the season through 9 games, 17 takeaways as well. The Steelers are officially 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 against the AFC. Now keep an eye on Hilton, Buggs, and McFarland as they are listed as questionable for the Steelers. Robinson, Allen, Chenault, and Costin are questionable for the Jags. Minshew is out. Luton is in. The Jags are just 1-8 straight up on the season, 1-3 straight up at home. They rank in the bottom 10 in the league in scoring, bottom 10 in rushing. This Jacksonville defense is also allowing over 30 points a game and over 410 yards of total offense. They're also allowing nearly 7 yards per play, really struggling defensively this season. Jacksonville's failed to cover the number in 4 out of their last 5 against the AFC themselves. And when it comes to the total in this one, the Jags saw 2 out of their last 3 get over the number. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh went 3-1 to the over in their last 4 themselves, 75% to the over in their last 8. Give me the Pittsburgh Steelers -10 and the over 47.5 in that ball game. Next contest, it is going to be Lions-Panthers, Battle of the Cats. And that's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern start time. The Panthers are the 3.5-point favorite at home. Totals 49. Carolina's on a 5-game losing streak. Just 1-4 straight up in their games at home this season. We're looking at a Panther team who's really struggled in many different facets this year. They also failed to cover the number in 4 out of those 5 home games. The Panthers rank in the bottom 10 in the league in home passing. They're also in the bottom 3 in third quarter scoring. Now, Teddy Bridgewater is questionable with a leg injury. Keep an eye on him. Also, Okung, McCaffrey, and Jackson are all listed as questionable as well. So keep an eye on all of those guys. Some really important key pieces to this Carolina ball club on the injury report. But anyway, defensively, the Panthers are giving up 30 points a game at home. They're also in the top 10 in the league in most yards allowed per play. They're taking on a Detroit ball club who's coming fresh off a 3-point victory over Washington. They put up 30 points against the football team in that contest. Detroit's also gone 3-2 straight up on the road, and they covered the number in 60% of those games. Now, the Detroit Lions rank in the top 5 in the league in first quarter scoring. Of course, when you mention the Lions, can't mention the Lions without Matt Stafford. And Stafford's he's throwing for over 2,400 yards this season, along with 17 touchdowns. Wideout Marvin Jones Jr., he's caught 33 balls for 404 yards and 5 scores. And most surprising, this Detroit defense on the other side of the ball ranks in the top 10 in the league in fewest pass yards allowed on the road. Edge rusher Romeo Okwara has 6 sacks on the season, along with 8 tackles for loss. Jamie Collins also leads the club in tackles from that linebacker spot. 68 total tackles for Collins, 4.5 TFLs, 1 interception, and 2 forced fumbles for the veteran linebacker. This Detroit defense is in the top 10 in the NFL in fewest first quarter points allowed. They're also in the top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed at home. So surprising there, I get it. But a couple bright spots for this lackluster Detroit defense. Now, Williams, Vaitai, Davis, and Agnew are all questionable for the Lions. Amendola and Stafford are a little banged up as well, so keep an eye on them just as a precaution. I think they're going to end up playing, but they are officially on the injury report. And when it comes to the total in this one, Detroit's last 3 ball games got over the posted number. They're 67% to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Panthers saw 3 out of their last 4 get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward another underdog in this one. Give me the underdog Detroit Lions plus 3.5 and the over 49 in that contest. All right, next matchup should be a good one. Potentially another, kind of a prelude to a playoff game. I know it's a repeat of last year's AFC title game, but AFC divisional game. But anyway, the Titans squaring off against the Ravens, 1 p.m. East. Now, the Ravens are -6.5, totals 49. Baltimore's lost 2 out of their last 3, 2-5 against the spread in their last 7. Ravens are in the bottom 3 in the league in passing, bottom 5 in fourth quarter scoring. Lamar Jackson's completing just 64% of his passes, and he's been sacked 23 times. He's also throwing for just 195 yards a game. Jackson's leading receiver, Marquise Brown, has caught just 2 touchdown passes through 9 games, and he averages only 47 yards a game receiving. The Ravens have lost 2 of 4 at home this season, just 2-2 against the spread in those 4 contests. Smith, Fort, and Williams are all questionable for the Ravens. Pruitt, Humphreys, and Jackson for the Titans. And speaking of Tennessee, they're 2-1 straight up on the road this season, 6-3 overall for the year. The Titans are in the top 10 in scoring, top 10 in yards per play. This Tennessee offense is rushing for 161 yards a game on the road. Derrick Henry's got 946 total rushing yards through just 9 games. Almost 1,000 yards, should eclipse it this week. He's also got 8 touchdowns, and he's averaging 4.7 yards a carry. He's also averaging 105 yards a game on the ground. Meanwhile, quarterback Ryan Tannehill's thrown for over 2,100 yards this season, along with 20 touchdown passes. just 3 interceptions for the NFL veteran. And as much as this Tennessee defense has struggled in certain spots, they do rank in the top 5 in the league in fewest third-quarter points allowed. Now, Malcolm Butler has a pair of interceptions from this Tennessee secondary, 59 total tackles as well for Butler. Jayan Brown also has 73 total tackles from that linebacker position, 4.5 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles, and 8 PBUs for the linebacker. Meanwhile, when it comes to the total in this one, 2 out of Tennessee's last 4 ball games stayed under the posted number. Meanwhile, the Ravens' last 2 straight stayed under the line themselves. 3 out of Baltimore's last 4 home games also stayed under the total. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward yet another underdog, giving me the Underdog Titans plus 6.5 and the under 49 in that ball game. All right, next contest. It is going to be Patriots Texans, 1 p.m. Eastern start time at NRG Stadium in Houston. The Patriots are the 1.5-point favorite on the road. Totals 47 and a hook. Now, the Patriots are on a 2-game winning streak, 2-1 against the spread in their last 3. The Pats are in the top 3 in the league in rushing, top 3 in fourth quarter scoring on the road as well. Meanwhile, defensively, the Pats are allowing just 23 points per contest, and they're holding their opponents to under 225 yards a game passing. So although their record isn't all that great, these guys still have been very competitive on the defensive side. And of course, J.C. Jackson, he's having one heck of a year. Jackson's got 6 interceptions from this New England secondary, 11 PDs, 2 fumble recoveries. Meanwhile, safety Adrian Phillips also has 61 total tackles from the secondary as well, 5 TFLs and an interception for Phillips. This Patriot defense is in the top 10 in fewest fourth quarter points allowed. Now keep an eye on Gilmore, Bentley, and Taylor. They're all listed as questionable for New England. Meanwhile, the Texans on the other side, they've lost 3 out of their last 4 ball games themselves. They're also just 1-3 straight up and 1-3 against the spread at home this season. They rank in the bottom 10 in scoring, bottom 3 in rushing. This Houston offense is gaining just 87 yards a game on the ground. They're also having a pretty tough time protecting Deshaun Watson. 23 total sacks through 9 games on the season. Really, just this Houston offensive line has been bad. They've just been bad. But anyway, this Houston offense is averaging less than a touchdown a game on the ground. They're also giving up 28 points a game and nearly 170 yards a game on the ground as well. The Texans have successfully covered the point spread in just 2 out of their 9 games on the season. Now, total-wise, when it comes to the number, 2 out of the Patriots' last 3 ball games got over the posted number. New England's also 3-1 to the over on the road this season. Not going to lean toward a dog in this one. Give me the New England Patriots minus 1.5 and the over 47 and a hook in that ball game. All right, next matchup, it is going to be Bengals football team. 1 p.m. Eastern start time in Landover. The Washington football team's -2 at home. They're the 2-point favorites. Total's 46.5. Washington's on a 2-game losing streak. Just 1-7 straight up in their last 8. The football team scoring just 19 points a game at home, and they're rushing for only 86 yards a game in that same category. Antonio Gibson has rushed for just 436 yards in 9 games. He's also averaging just 48 yards a game on the ground. Now, Washington also ranks in the bottom 3 in the league in yards per play at home, and they also rank in the top 3 in the league in most first quarter points allowed. Now, Washington's also lost 3 out of their 5 ball games at FedEx Field this year. Inman, Lucas, Everett, Norris, and Christian were all questionable for the Washington football team. Meanwhile, on the other side, when it comes to the injury report, Atkins, Hart, Alexander, Sims, McKinley, Ross, and Mixon were all listed as questionable for the Bengals, so keep an eye on those guys. But anyway, speaking of the Bengals, they successfully covered the point spread in 3 out of their last 4. They're 7-2 against the spread overall for the season. So as bad as they've been defensively, these guys are actually amongst the best teams in the league in covering the point spread. And when it comes to betting, that's all that matters. Now, the Bengals rank in the top 10 in fewest first quarter points allowed, top 10 in fewest third quarter points allowed as well. Safety Jesse Bates, the third, leads the team in tackles with 64 of them. He also has 2 TFLs from the secondary and 2 interceptions. Logan Wilson also has a pair of interceptions from that linebacker spot. 22 total tackles and 3 TFLs for Wilson. Safety Von Bell also has 61 total tackles from the secondary. 4 PBUs for Bell. Meanwhile, we'll have to turn that off. Man, we're really running long here. Meanwhile, on the offensive side, quarterback Joe Burrow's thrown for nearly 2,500 yards on the season. And when it comes to the total on this one, the Washington football team saw 4 out of their last 5 stay under the posted total. I'm going to lean toward another dog in this one. Give me the Bengals +2 and the under 46.5 in that game. All right, next matchup, Eagles-Browns, 1 p.m. Eastern start time in Cleveland. The Browns are the 4-point favorite at home. Total's 45.5. The Browns have failed to cover the point spread in their last 4 straight. Just 2-3 against the spread on their home field. The Browns are in the bottom 3 in the league in passing, bottom 5 in first quarter scoring at home. Quarterback Baker Mayfield is averaging just 182 yards a game passing, and he's completing just 61% of his passes. Mayfield's also throwing for just 1.6 touchdowns per contest. His leading receiver right now is Jarvis Landry, who's averaging just 49 receiving yards a game, and he's yet to catch a touchdown pass. Now, they're taking on an Eagles team who hasn't been all that great themselves, but they have won 2 out of their last 3 ball games, despite a loss this past Sunday at New York. And the Birds have also failed to. They've also successfully covered the number in 3 out of their last 6. Now, Philadelphia ranks in the top 10 in fewest yards allowed per play. This Eagle defense is giving up just 211 passing yards per contest. Brandon Graham has 7 sacks thus far in the season, 11 TFLs for the veteran defensive end. Graham also has 2 forced fumbles and 30 total tackles. And of course, edge rusher Derek Barnett also has 4.5 sacks on the year, along with 20 total tackles and 4.5 tackles for loss. Now, this Eagles squad, this Eagle D, has 31 total sacks on the season, and they average nearly 4 sacks per game. They don't even blitz. They're just that good up front on the D line. Now, total-wise, 2 out of the Eagles' last 4 road games did get over the posted number. Meanwhile, Cleveland's seen 60% of their home games get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward another underdog in this one. Give me the underdog Philadelphia Eagles +4 and the over 45.5 in that contest. And with that, we're going to dive into our next and final matchup of the show. It is going to be Falcons squaring off against the Saints, and that's going to be a 1 p.m. Eastern start time in New Orleans. The Saints are the 5-point favorite at home. Total's 50 and a hook. Now, the Saints just lost Drew Brees indefinitely, some cracked ribs and a lung injury. I think it's a collapsed lung or a punctured lung, something like that. A collapsed lung, I believe. But that's going to sideline them for at least several weeks. And as good as the Saints have been this season, they haven't been all that impressive against the number. So kind of surprising they're going to have their backups at quarterback and they're laying 5 points here. And they haven't been all that great against the number. And as a matter of fact, New Orleans failed to cover the number in 6 out of their last 9 ball games. They're also just 40% against the spread at home this year. Now, Hill, Washington, Lattimore, and Smith are all questionable for the Saints as well. And, of course, Hill, that's the tight end. That's not Taysom Hill. But anyway, New Orleans, they're taking on an Atlanta team who's on a 2-game winning streak themselves. 59 total points they scored in those 2 victories. The Falcons have also won 3 out of their last 4. And they covered the number in 3 out of those 4 outings. Now, quarterback Matt Ryan is completing nearly 70% of his passes for over more than 200. He's thrown for over 2,700 yards on the season and 15 touchdowns. Ryan's throwing for 305 yards a game on average. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley's caught 43 passes for 657 and 6 touchdowns. So keep an eye on Ridley. He is listed as questionable for Sunday. I think he's going to end up playing, but just keep an eye on him. And, of course, wideout Julio Jones has caught 43 balls for 638 and 3 scores himself. He's often double-teamed and keyed on, so good numbers out of Jones once again for another season. This guy's been great. But anyway, Atlanta's successfully covered the point spread in 3 out of their last 4 road games. And when it comes to the total in this one, 2 out of the Falcons' last 3 ball games stayed under the posted number. 4 out of their last 6 also stayed under the line. Meanwhile, the Saints on the other side, once again, will have to go to work with either Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston or both. I would go with Hill, but it looks like a lot of people are saying they're going to go with Winston, but whatever. But anyway, New Orleans saw their last 2 straight ball games stay under the line as well. I'm going to lean toward another underdog. Give me the Atlanta Falcons +5 and the under 50.5 in that ball game. But with that, guys, that's going to do it for me for part 1, the early games. Once again, be on the lookout for the later games later in the week. I might even make that video here today. Who knows? So keep an eye out for that. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind, we'll bill you the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.